Hello YouTube, my name is Tyler and this is the last reading check-in of October. I actually did read quite a bit, but I was on vacation, which is why I did not vlog. However, I did finish a book before vacation started and I recorded a clip, and I'm not gonna retread my thoughts. So I'm gonna insert the clip that I filmed previously about Except for Palestine here. I finished listening to Except for Palestine, The Limits of Progressive Politics by Mark Lamont Hill and Mitchell Plitnick. I listened to this as an audiobook. I wrote a review because I gave it 3 stars, and this is what I wrote, kind of explaining my hesitation and why it ended up only being 3 stars. I hesitate to rate this because I think this is probably a great book. I've been waiting ages for any of my libraries to get a copy, and when one finally did, it was only an audiobook. I usually love a nonfiction audiobook, but sometimes dense topics or more academic writing do not translate well into audio. Unfortunately, that was my experience with this specific audiobook. I really struggled with this narrator and holding on to the information. Not long in, I could already tell I wanted to switch to reading the book, but again, I only had access to the audiobook. So it is a bummer. This was not the enlightening experience I had hoped for, but I'm not mad about trying. So yeah, me and this particular narrator really did not mesh well. There was lots of long quotes, and the way he read it just did not make it clear when a quote would end and when like the writing would continue, and when he was going back and forth between like continuations of quotes when there was like writing by the authors in between. It just was very difficult. I did not click with it. But like I said, I do think this was probably an actually really good book. It just, I read it in the wrong format, but that was the only format I had access to. And so those were the thoughts I had at the beginning of the week. So here is the vast majority of the books I read this week. Like I said, I was on vacation, so I finished this one before we left for vacation, 11, and then I finished 12, 13, and 14 while on vacation. Gave them all 5 stars. This is the final set that I had to read. It still goes on. I think there's like 8 more volumes. I just had not bought them because I wasn't sure if I was going to want to continue after the inter-high race was finished. Because for some reason I thought that it was going to follow a different team after the inter-high race, and that's not the case. Volume 14 actually covered a lot more after the race than I had anticipated. I mean, like the first, I don't know, 3 issues maybe, I think, were like the finishing of the race, and then like the vast majority of it was like them training for their next race and like starting the next race. So I will continue. I just don't have any more volumes to continue currently at this very moment. But yes, that is that. Whew, I did not adequately prepare for this before I hit record, and so I've been running all over to grab the books. Anyways, I also reread Through the Woods. This is the first time I've read this specific copy because I read it digitally 2 years ago, I think, and I really liked it. I still really like this. It was still a 5-star experience. I really appreciate the art in this more, like physically. There is something just about the way Emily Carroll does full page spreads that I just really enjoy. Her narrative choices and how she does minimal dialogue just really works in a story collection like this, because it is like scary stories basically, so that like overarching narrative style she has just really works. There was a jump scare in here I had forgot about. It's much more like a wintry type spooky compared to like autumnal Halloween spooky, but it still fits. Like, it's just good. I had a good time. I really enjoyed these stories quite a bit. Yeah, so Through the Woods. This was a reread, but it was still good. And then I have one more book that I physically own that I read, so let me grab that. I read We Can Never Leave This Place by Eric LaRocca. I gave it 2 stars. I did not like it. It was not quite as viscerally annoying to read as You've Lost a Lot of Blood, but I still did not like this. I didn't have a damn clue what the fuck was going on in this. I actually wrote a review for it. Hold on, give me a second. Did I not burn my phone? Oh my gosh, I'll be back. I've earned a drink from all the running up and down the stairs. So the review I wrote for this on Goodreads was, I loved Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke and hated You've Lost a Lot of Blood. So this was a tiebreaker for me, and unfortunately, I don't think I'll be picking up any more of Eric LaRocca's work. While I didn't hate reading it, I did not have a fucking clue what was going on at any point. Any of the parts that should have been freaky or gross or horrifying had little to no effect on me because I couldn't decipher the purpose enough to feel the tension or intense emotion beyond utter confusion. Yeah, as soon as I started it, I was like, I don't know about this, but like, I bought this. And so I just kept pushing and I finished it. I read it in like 2 days. And I didn't get it. I did not get it. I didn't know what was going on. It did get kind of explained in the end, but like, the fact that I was just so confused for so long by the time there were reveals or by the time spooky, gross things started happening, I just like couldn't get myself to care. So this was 2 stars, and like I said in the review, I don't think I'm actually going to be picking up any more of Eric LaRocca's work. Okay, so that was the last physical thing I read. I also finished 2 other books. One of those was Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I gave this 3 stars. Technically, I've been working on this for like over a month, but I ended up restarting it because I just couldn't remember what happened once the audiobook checked out to me again. So this is a story that, like, when you get just the brief plot synopsis, it seems like it's going to be Hunger Gamesy. There is a citywide like battle royale, and you're following 2 of the characters who have entered it, and you win money and you get to meet the king and all this stuff. And so you're getting these 2 characters who have entered, and they're kind of like working together, and they tend to have some sort of relationship with the palace, the royalty aspect. And then you're also getting kind of a third perspective from the royal perspective. Anyways, it definitely does not feel like Hunger Games when you're actually like listening to it or reading it. And it was just fine. It was fine. Apparently people hated this, and I guess that's kind of like they were expecting something else from Chloe Gong. I have not read any of Chloe Gong's other work, so like I didn't have any expectations. I just thought it seemed kind of interesting, and like it was fine, but I just did not care about the Kala in not August. What was the other guy's name? I keep wanting to say Anthony. It's not Anthony. It's oh my god, whatever the 2 characters are. I can't think of any names. I just didn't care about really their relationship. And the parts I found most engaging were actually like from August, the like heir apparent to the crown, and kind of what was going on with the palace. That stuff was actually the more intriguing part to me. But this is very much about Kala. And I don't know. The writing was fine, but I just was not invested in like the heart of the story. So it only ended up being 3 stars. The other thing I read was Near the Bone by Christina Henry. Also gave this 2 stars. This felt like the author wanted to write 2 different books and was not successful in weaving them together. This felt much more like a thriller than horror to me, and the way the monster was described and used through the story was so disappointing. Yeah, there's like some sort of Bigfoot type monster, and the lack of description of this beast was so irritating. Multiple times through the story, I was like, I can't even tell what is going on with this thing. I can just tell that it's big. And I'm like, that is not a description. That is not intriguing. That is not like spooky. That is not anything. Just telling me that like there's a big monster on the mountain and that's all you can tell about it is like not engaging or interesting at all. So the like two different stories are the main character, Maddie, who is in an abusive, like Christian patriarchal relationship. We learn more about it as the book goes on. And they're living isolated on a mountain. And then she finds this like mutilated corpse of a rabbit, I think. And then that kicks off the like creature on the mountain aspect. But so much of it is focused on Maddie and her relationship. And like the monster is just there to kind of like push the plot forward, but the real monster is her husband, sort of deal. But I just was never satisfied. In the beginning, they felt like two different books. And for a while, I was intrigued by that Christian fundamentalist stuff that was going on. And I was also kind of interested in the monster thing. And I was hoping that they would really come together. And it just didn't. And I was so unimpressed with the writing. Every reveal was basically just like told to you. The dialogue was insufferable. I didn't have a good time. Yeah, so that's all the things I've read this week. This last week of October. I was gonna record my wrap up today, but I just realized I did not do my stats math yet. I just absolutely was not prepared at all when I came down here to record, apparently. So I'll have to do that at some point, and then I guess I'll record it tomorrow. But yeah, that's a lot of books I read in this last week. Let's see, that's like 4, 6, 8, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 books I read this week. That's wild. Granted, 4 of them were manga, which I sped through. But yeah, that's what this week's been. I will see y'all in my wrap up. Bye.